Hi friends, today let's talk about how to start a relationship without losses and disappointments. The first stage of dating is always the most exciting, but also the most responsible, because this is where many people make mistakes that can affect the future of the relationship. In this video, let's discuss how to avoid the most common mistakes. Keep it easy, honest, and build a foundation for a strong and happy union. The psychology of men and women is like living on different planets. So what happens when the planets come closer together? The beginning of a love relationship is the most difficult, although very pleasant period. Why difficult? Because it is at the beginning of the novel relationship between a man and a woman is so fragile that the spark, which has not yet ignited a flame, can easily be extinguished because of any trifle. On how not to spoil the relationship from the very beginning of it. The psychology of male-female relationships, like any process that takes place on Earth, has certain stages. There are many of them, but today we will talk about only one. The initial one. It is not difficult to guess that any relationship begins with attraction. A man, captivated by a woman's charms, begins to give the woman signs of attention. He senses that she is attracted to him because she responds to these signs. At first timidly, and then more and more confidently. He continues his courtship of the most special woman in the world. Admiring her outer beauty, the man gradually tries to get to know the woman better. At this stage, the so-called candy bouquet period begins. A woman is organized in such a way that she is attracted to a man based not only on his external data and physical form. He attracts her with his intelligence, responsibility, and self-confidence. When meeting such a man, a woman gladly accepts his signs of attention. For her part, she does her best to maintain the man's interest in her person. It is at this stage in the process of getting to know each other that both parties tend to make mistakes that can lead to a breakup. Overall, relationships should not start with insincerity and manipulation. This applies to both partners, but more specifically, all mistakes made can be divided into male and female. When a woman really likes a man, she always worries. Except that excessive emotions and fears of doing something wrong are exactly what lead them to a lot of mistakes that contribute to the breakup. Mistake 1. Artificiality. Earlier, we have already mentioned this factor as insincerity. Here we are talking about it. If a woman, wanting to make the best impression, begins to behave not peculiar to herself real, then either the man will notice it and disappointed in her, or the relationship will turn into a theater. But everyone knows that performances in the theater tend to end after the second or third act. Mistake 2. I decided everything for the two of us. Typical situation. Having just met a man, a woman has already planned a serious relationship, a wedding, children, and a happy old age. But the man doesn't even realize it. Maybe he just likes a woman and he does not mind having sex with her, but in no way going to the wedding. Mistake 3. When a woman provokes her partner with jealousy. This factor is called jealousy as manipulation. At this stage of the relationship, the man will adequately assess such behavior and treat the woman accordingly. It is a known fact that this type of manipulation is often used by insecure women to raise their price in the eyes of the man they like. Mistake 4. Violation of personal space. This factor alone can ruin any relationship, not only romantic ones. Personal space should be for each of the partners. This mistake does not only apply to women. It may seem strange, but mistakes in women and men are similar, only they manifest themselves differently. Man is always right. Getting acquainted with the girl who managed to attract attention. Men try to like too, show their feelings, and, often without realizing it, make mistakes that can quickly lead to the opposite effect and the rupture of the relationship. Mistake 1. Insecurity. Women prefer confident men. If he constantly doubts and adjusts only to the desires of a woman, she quickly loses interest in him. A man who is self-confident, able to make decisions and take responsibility, has a much better chance of reciprocating his feelings than one who constantly doubts and seeks a woman's approval. Mistake 2. Rudeness. Any manifestation of rudeness prevents people from understanding each other. If a man allows himself rudeness, it can be assumed that he does not respect his companion, does not seek to make a favorable impression on her. After all, the more serious intentions a man has, the more attentive and affectionate he becomes to his chosen one. Mistake 3. One of the grossest mistakes men make in relationships with women is insisting on physical intimacy. As a rule, this type of men is not inclined to think about the feelings of other people. It is important for them to establish themselves to get the desired result. In most cases, this approach does not plan to have a serious relationship with a girl at all. She is only a means for her own self-realization. Although, in general, the topic of intimacy in a relationship is an important mistake for fear of showing a woman his weakness. Men from childhood are brought up in strictness, instilling in them strictly masculine qualities. Growing up, a man is panic-stricken, afraid to show some simple human feelings and emotions. He does not allow to admit to any weakness, believing that it is not masculine. However, all people are inherent emotions. A woman will be much more pleasant to see near a live person who is not afraid to show his feelings, trusting her with his experiences. Thus, at the beginning of relationships, men and women often make mistakes. Wisdom is to be able to recognize them in time, draw conclusions, and change their behavior. How to avoid mistakes. The easiest and most effective way is to talk. Talking, asking each other questions. Discuss everything that is troubling and worrying. Honesty and straightforwardness in relationships is the best path to understanding, and it is better to apply it from the very beginning of the relationship. It is very important not to wallow in your fears and doubts. At the beginning of a relationship, they arise almost exclusively because of a lack of information. That's why you just need to share with your partner what's on your mind. Clarify. Practice shows that in most cases, any doubts can be dispelled simply by talking to your partner about it. Ask him or her directly what he or she thinks about it, what his or her intentions are, what his or her views are about it. Otherwise, the person starts to get worked up, can succumb to the enclosures and ruin the relationship. But there is another danger. The point is that anxiety looks from the outside as alienation, indifference, coldness, lack of love. Besides heart-to-heart talks, there is another factor that is beneficial to a relationship. Sex can be useful even at the beginning of a relationship. You heard me right. The fact is that when we touch, kiss, or have sex with someone, our bodies respond by releasing hormones that are associated with bonding. These hormones are thought to promote love and affection, increasing the likelihood that people will stay together. So what conclusion can be drawn from all of this? A good and strong relationship is the fruit of the joint work of a man and a woman, but it is on how things work out in the beginning will depend on their further existence. Remember, the main thing in a relationship is real and mutual love. And mistakes are not a hindrance if you know how to solve them correctly. 7 questions to ask at the beginning of a relationship. 1. Do you think feelings should be expressed in words? Point 2. How do you spend your free time? 3. What do you want to get out of this relationship? 4. How do you spend your money? Point 5. What caused past relationships to end? 6. Do you want kids? 7. What's acceptable in sex and what's not? How often should a man write at the beginning of a relationship? At the beginning of a relationship, it is quite possible to write in the morning to say good morning, then during the day to inquire about plans and mood, to arrange a meeting, etc. Otherwise, everything is individual. Some guys like to be written to a lot. Some prefer to keep their distance. Who should write good morning first? According to the rules of telephone etiquette, the first person to say hello is always the caller. Instead of a short hello, which may sound inaudible, it is better to use the phrases good morning, good afternoon. What does a man in love say? A man in love expresses his love not only in words but also in actions. He may tell you simple, sincere phrases such as "I love you" or "You are important to me." He will be caring, supportive, and willing to sacrifice his time for you. How do you know when it's time to get into a relationship? While there is no specific age, milestone, or turning point that can clearly indicate when it's time for you to get into a serious relationship, you should look inside yourself and be completely honest with yourself about what you really want and feel at this stage of your life. What are some provocative questions to ask? Have you ever broken the law? Was it love at first sight? What is the largest amount of money you have ever held in your hand? What do you want to be? How many times have you fallen in love? How many boyfriends/girlfriends have you had? Have you ever been dumped? If you ever got the chance to kiss a celebrity, who would it be? Love without loss is possible if you approach the beginning of a relationship consciously and are not afraid to ask important questions. Share your experience in the comments. What mistakes did you manage to avoid? And what perhaps became a good lesson? Subscribe to the channel, click on the bell to not miss new videos. Thanks for being with us and see you in the next episodes.